Sol.
Getting the knack for projecting my power here. Ooh, I look hot.
Hello there everybody, you're the audience. My name is SuperSonicBlur and welcome back to the next God Guide kit explanation and build. Today we're going to be going over Sol, a very interesting god who for a long period of time has been very strong in the meta. Then there was sort of a change with stuff and then she sort of faded out and then she sort of made her way back in and she's in this weird spot right now. Originally she was very much in the ADC role because she was so strong there. Then that sort of changed and she sort of found her way back into the mid lane. She can still be an ADC, but she's more commonly in that mid lane now. What exactly is that? Well, we'll get into that throughout the video, but if you take a look on the screen now, you should be able to see each of the 3 different sections with the timestamp, so if there's only one area that particularly interests you, you can skip ahead to that. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, it's time now to go over the kit of Sol. So Sol's passive is called Unstable Manifestation. Sol gains heat as she uses abilities and hits with basic attacks. She gains 1% magical power and 1.2% attack speed for every 4% heat. At 100% heat, Sol's basic attacks gain 25% damage and her heat decreases over time. Each basic attack hit gives a 5% increase to heat, and each of her abilities increase her heat by varying amounts. Now what's important here is exactly how much does that mean? Well, for 4% heat means that we do that 20 times, 25 times, excuse me. So she gets 25 magical power and 30% attack speed. This is very strong, and especially in the early stages of the game, this essentially means that very much like Apollo with Audacity, you're like, haha, my basic attacks shoot very fast and it's very good. This is what made Sol very strong, because her boxing potential early was stupid. She gained 25% damage on her basic attacks for just her being basic attacking, plus she got that 30% that 25% magical power plus that 30% attack speed. That means that Sol can do a lot. So as you can see here, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go like this, and you'll see that slowly I start increasing my attack speed. It doesn't look like much at the moment, but I assure you it is there, and it is going to slowly ratchet itself up. And you can see as well my basic attack value is also increasing as well. But that's pretty good already, you can see here. And now you see this, and you hear that sound as well. And then eventually it all sort of stops. Oops. But you'll see it slowly goes from colored to gray, and then it shrinks back down. But it doesn't shrink down back instantly. It does have a wind up on it, or a wind down on it, so that's pretty good. And as you can see, gaining that bonus damage as well means that we do pretty good right now. I mean, look at that. That's pretty good. Also as well, you hear that sound, her basic attacks sound different, which is very useful. So in terms of times between the abilities and things, I believe it's roughly about 3 seconds before she will then lose some of the stacks, but that's pretty damn useful. So already you can see that she can have a lot of damage just from using her abilities, using her basic attacks, successfully hitting them as well is important. It's after successful basic attacks, so that's very important. Whenever she uses abilities and hits basic attacks, she doesn't have to hit the abilities, she just has to use them, and she has to hit her basic attacks. So I can do this, and I'm not getting anything on the basic attacks, so that's pretty important. Basic attacks don't have any chain on them, because why would they have a chain on them? It's a mage, so they don't really have a chain on them. Well, the ADC style ones don't. I don't think there's any ADC with an attack chain. That would be quite something interesting. Either way, Radiance is her one. Sol burns bright, gaining a large amount of heat, healing herself over time and igniting the ground around her. Enemies that walk into the fire take damage over time. This will heal for 25% of her missing health over 5 seconds. And this ticks, I believe the ground thing is 5 ticks. So we'll see here. As you can see, it's a fairly decent-ish range. It's 15 radius, I believe, or is it 10? Oh, what's that? They don't tell you. Well, I'm not surprised there, honestly, but it looks about 15. So you can see here that it does this, and it goes 1, 2, 3. All right, so the thing lasts for 3 seconds itself, which means there are 3 ticks of it. And in terms of the amount of damage it does, let's just get myself a Bancroft's Talent to show you what it is. It's 25% per tick, so that's 75% scaling. Also as well, the big thing about this one, This gives her a ridiculous amount of heat because it's, well, it's radiance. She gathers up a lot of that energy. This can pretty much stack you your passive like that. To begin with, 40% doesn't sound like much, but it is pretty good. Then, going up to 80%, that's almost your entire passive. You need to hit 4 basic attacks after that. And that's it. Radiance will pretty much get you a full passive. Not to mention the damage it does as well isn't exactly bad. The big important crux about this ability is it is percentage of missing health. If you are on 1% HP, you will not heal up 25% of your HP. You will heal up 25% of the 99% missing. If you are on 50% HP, you will not heal back up 25% of your HP. You will heal back up 12.5% of your HP. The heal on it is useful, don't get me wrong, it's nice to have that, but it is not the be-all and end-all of Soul. In fact, actually, I would say it is kind of the opposite. It is kind of just there as a bonus. The fact that this does damage and gets your Radiance up, or your Unstable Manifestation passive up, is what you're using it for more. Her 2 is called Stellar Burst. Soul's next basic attack will explode, creating a shockwave that travels out, dealing damage. At full size, the wave retracts, dealing damage again and slowing all enemies. Whatever damage number you see here can be doubled, and the slow goes from 15 up to 35% for 1.5 seconds. Using this ability, as in activating it, will give you 10% heat. So what that means is, we see here, I have activated it. You see that? Now, I have gained those 2 stacks of heat. Now they're gone. But the basic attack is the same range as a normal basic attack. And it goes out. And it fires twice. And then it just sort of does nothing. So what I need to quickly do is just reset that. Now, an important thing to know about this is it hits walls. That is very, very important. This ability gets stopped by walls. That is important. Another thing that you can do is, where it goes out and then back in, there's a very small window in which you can go blah. Like, the closer you get to the edge of that circle, the more, or the quicker you take that damage. So much so that you pretty much, if you're on the edge of it, you take the 2 ticks almost instantly. The size of it, we don't get told it, but I believe it is roughly the same sort of size as my 1. So if we have a look there, you can see, yep, it's pretty much the same size as the 1. So that's a sort of size that you're looking at. I'm using this archway here to sort of show you guys that. And you can see it travels for 55, then explodes out. This is your wave clear, and very importantly, you kind of have to stand off to the side of the wave, because if you hit the first minion with this, what you're going to do is this. Let's say that there, actually, why am I doing that? There's a full minion wave coming in over here. Well, the minion wave's almost gone now, but it's there. Also, as well, you can see if Soul has these 2 glowing pom-poms for hands, then that pretty much shows you she has got her 2 activated. She can't cancel it, she can't do anything, it's now there, very much like Viper Shot or any other abilities where it's like it's on, and then you fire it, and then it's off. So you want to try and fire it soon, but if I hit the first one, bonk, it doesn't hit the whole wave. However, if I were to aim it about here, and stand about here, I can hit the whole wave. Also, her 1 does actually make for a fairly decent wave clear piece, because you can do stuff, but you want to try and aim it off to the side so that way you can hit the full wave. Hitting a full wave is kind of important when that's your wave clear ability. So do that if I were you. That's kind of important. Either way, her 3 is called Disapparate. Soul burns down her manifestation, gaining movement speed and an immunity to slows whilst leaving a trail of fire behind her that damages enemies. After 3 seconds, Soul loses corporeal form for a short time. Soul may leave her incorporeal form early. Now, in incorporeal form, she is immune to damage, immune to CC, and can walk through player deployable walls and, I believe, enemies. I believe. Now, this ability was what made Soul very strong. Originally, this ability had, you have no basic attack movement penalty, which meant you could chase people down. The damage on it is every 0.5 seconds they take it, and of course that lasts for 3 seconds, so that means they can take up to 6 ticks of this, though good luck getting anyone to stand for 6 ticks of this. If they do stand for 6 ticks of this, though, then they're going to be taking a lot of damage. But, again, you're not really using this for damage. The damage is there, but it's kind of more of a, if you follow me and you follow my exact line, you're going to take damage. Ha ha ha. It's more a case of getting you out of the situation. So, as you can see, this is that form, and you can see it does damage there. And, yeah, incorporeal form, I am able to sort of, ooh, that's kind of Well, that's kind of weird.
Stop right there.
Ew. But yes, that's what happens in incorporeal form. I'm immune to damage, CC, I cannot do anything. It's very much like Osiris, which we covered last time. It's kind of like that in regards to, I can walk through everything, except you're also damage immune and CC immune, so that's pretty good. But it is after 3 seconds, so you can't just use this thinking it's like Chunga or Ravana, and it's like, haha, I'm immune. It's kind of I'm gonna be immune in 3 seconds. Just hang on. It is an escape, but it's kind of a delayed escape. You're kind of running away a bit faster more than anything. But it's still useful. It's still very, very useful. It also will cleanse you of any CC if you are CC'd as you go into incorporeal form. Her ultimate, though, is very much the fun part of her kit. Supernova. Soul unleashes her flame and fury from the sky, striking 8 times along a movable ground target location. Enemies hit are knocked back on the first strike, but will only take 30% of the damage after on successive hits. So this ability will do 50% of your scaling, and it has 150 base, and then for the next 7, they will only take 30% of the damage. So that is 200, you can do 310% of the damage of what this ability has here. So if somehow you are able to hit with all 8 ticks of this, or 8 shots of this, then you are doing we'll say it's 3 times the amount here, just to make it a bit easy. You're going to be hitting for 450 plus 150% of your scaling. Now this ability, as you can see, it's a very small targeter. It's only got a radius of about 25-ish, so it's fairly small, but what it does is this, and I'll show you. And that's how her ultimate works. Now remember that the first one will knock you up. It won't knock you up very far, but it can knock you up. I believe it knocks you up. But what you can do is this. Like that. It's a pain. Very much like if you've ever played AMC when you fire the honey, that is basically what you do. So if you want to go like that, you can go like that, and it will fire in a smaller area. If you want to just set it in one location, then you can do that. Like, if you want to go for, like, Fire Giant or something, and you need to just hit that, then you can just go like that, and it'll hit Fire Giant for the most part. It's really kind of a nice, you can use this offensively and defensively. Like, you can go like that. And now suddenly that area is very difficult to try and walk through for enemies. You get some CC off, you can sort of sit it and flick it. It's all very useful. You can sort of go like that. Or if you need to get away, what you can do, now this is one thing they don't tell you, Soul is CC immune when she fires her ult. It's very difficult to see, but technically she is CC immune. So what you can do is this, you're like, haha. And you can just get away, like so. You can sort of use it as a way to get away. If anyone's going to follow you, then they're going to take a lot of damage, and that's very useful. You can use it as a, don't follow me, or you take a lot of damage, and it's very useful. So Soul's ult is super, super fun. In terms of a kit rotation, try and keep Radiance up as much as possible, but don't make it the be-all and end-all. Don't just fire your abilities randomly to do it. But an important thing that you can do is you can time when you use abilities. So let's say I'm coming into the lane, coming into the lane, coming into the lane. Don't really want to use my passive, so now I can do that, and I can gain myself a little bit of time, which is very useful. Remember as well, her 1 does a boatload of Radiance, so that's very useful, and you can use it on the front of a minion wave. That's very useful. After that, the main thing you want to try and do is, again, that Radiance passive is so useful. Look at how much magical power I have. I have 125 from 120. Very useful. And as you can see, all my abilities can just do more and more and more and more and more. So it's very useful to have that. But don't make her passive the be-all and end-all of, I have to keep this up at every single opportunity. If I'm not keeping it up at every single opportunity, then it sucks. Bear in mind that it is important, but don't waste your mana on it and your cooldowns on it. Do not use your 3 for no reason because you want to try and keep the cooldown. Because I'm going to tell you right now, remember where we said that Radiance lasts for like 3 seconds or unstable manifestation? Watch this. Look at that. I pretty much lose it all by the time you come out of incorporeal form. It doesn't tell you how long her incorporeal form lasts for, but I think it's about 1.5 seconds. So that's important. Either way, now that we have gone over a look at her kit, it's time to go over a build for Soul. Okay then, so Soul. Sol is very interesting because, to start off with, again, you can play her ADC. However, she's now akin more towards the mid lane as a very much burst style mage because of how much damage potential she can get. In terms of her starter items, there are two main options. You can say Sands of Time. This gives me cooldown and MP5 and magical power. If I have magical power, my passive gives me another 25%. That's very good. However, Soulstone is also a very, very viable option. And the reason it's so viable, you gain a stack every time you hit an enemy with a basic attack. Soul kind of wants to hit stuff with basic attacks, so getting those 5 stacks is pretty good. Also as well, I want to check for certain whether or not this works, but originally Souls 2 used to count as an ability and a basic attack. I don't know if it still does, but if it still does, then guess what that means when I do this. This means... Alright, it doesn't anymore, but it used to. It used to count and it used to be able to stack Soulstone, which was amazing. But, look at that. You can gain 40 mana, and as well, you can get that additional just chunk of damage out, which is really, really useful. Getting that Soulstone means that you can really efficiently use your mana, and it kind of just works with Soul, honestly. Yes, you lose a little bit of the CDR from it. Yes, you don't have the same sustain with MP5, but bearing in mind that the MP5 is kind of iffy in regards to how long it takes versus the flat amount of mana, so it's kind of either one of those. In terms of the item to pair with it, you got several options. One is Boots. Boots is perfectly fine. No one is going to be upset at you if you pick Boots. Another option you can go for is Spell Focus. Some people will run Spell Focus because this enables them to do a lot of magical power, and you can then put it into a penetration item very, very early. So Spell Focus can give you a lot, but bearing in mind you will need to get 1600 gold for your boots. Another option is Tiny Trinket, giving you a nice amount of lifesteal capabilities, good boxing. Couple that with something like the Soulstone, you have very, very strong early sustain, which can be quite nice. Other options, Dynasty Plate Helm, all these sort of things. But the main thing that you want to look for is you want to get your boots online first. So I'm going to say we start boots and we go into this. In terms of your actives, beads or Aegis, usually beads first because you have Aegis in your kit, sort of. Again, kind of look at which one you need more. Personally, it's usually going to be purification beads. Second item on the list is usually going to be, if you're going against a lot of physical and you want to get rid of it, or you want to deal with that a lot, Plate Helm is always going to be a good option. 45 magical power, 30 protections, 15 magical protections is nothing to scoff at. That's very, very strong early and really kind of abuses Soul's early game power. And Soul does have a very good early game power. She's just very, very good with that. See? She likes it. Now, third item, this is where things get kind of interesting and you can kind of have some fun here. Usually, some people would have before bought Hasten Fatalis because, hey, Hasten Fatalis, when I basic attack and hits a target, I remove the attack speed debuff. Now, though, it's 2600 gold. It's kind of shit, so we're gonna forego Hasten Fatalis. We're also gonna forego Demonic Grip. Not really an item. She's not really that attack speed orientated. So now you got some options. One, Bancroft's Talon. A lot of magical power, which is really, really strong for her, and a good bit of lifesteal, which is pretty good. If you wanted to play a little bit more aggressively with that kind of stuff, you could also say Polynomicon, whereby what you do is you sort of do this and you proc that, and then because you slowed someone, you want to try and hit that basic attack after. Also, as well, your passive really kind of just... Wait, I didn't even pick up Polynomicon. Well, what you do is you sort of go like this and go like that. Like that, and then you do the basic attack after. Also, as well, you can do this. And bearing in mind, Polynomicon kind of works with her early-ish, because where she can get that 25% additional power, this allows her to kind of abuse it a little bit more than others may, which is very, very strong. Though, then again, Polynomicon third isn't great. Other options you can go for are things like you could go for a Spear of Desolation. Spear of Desolation gives you a lot of penetration following along that same line, a nice chunk of power, again, following along that same line, and a good bit of cooldown reduction. And also as well, killing stuff with cooldown reduction gets you 1 second off your abilities, which is very, very good for Soul. So all these kind of things work out nice. As you can see, she's got what? 25. She has 45 flat penetration at this point, which I believe pretty much caps it out. Yeah, 45 flat penetration. So now Soul is pretty damn good right now. At this point, other options are things like you can go for a Book of Thoth. Soul, not necessarily the most mana intensive, but it gives her a lot of magical power. It's kind of up to you. I don't mind the Book of Thoth. It's kind of nice. If you want to be a little bit more sustainy, then an Ethereal Staff also works. Ethereal Staff gives you the ability to be tankier, give you a good chunk of power-ish, and having that bonus 5% magical power, magical damage dealt to them is pretty good. Personally, if I'm going to do anything, then it's most likely going to be something like a Bancroft's Talon just to really ratchet up that damage. But again, it's kind of your own playstyle things. If you really want, you can go without the Dynasty Plate Helm and go into more power early. It's entirely up to you. Personally, though, I'm going to go with something like, let's say that Spear of Desolation, because it's really, really strong for her. And now that we've got that, the next thing we want is probably going to be that now that we've got a lot of penetration, now we just want a boatload of power. Boatloads of power, boatloads of power, boatloads of power. It's very, very good for her. So let's have a look and see what we could get in terms of boatload of power. Well, let's see. There's Stone of Binding, which, whilst it does technically work on a crowd control, isn't that great. We don't really need that. Doom Orb is an option if you wanted to go for that, but if you're going to go for that, you probably wouldn't go for Dynasty Plate Helm. You'd probably go Lost Artifact and then get it after boots to do that. So instead, you'd have something that looks like this. So you'd go there, and then like that. This is very strong, a lot of power. This is, what, 50 max stacks. You get another 100. 140 power is a lot of power, I'm not going to lie. But again, it's very difficult to keep that. So sometimes that could be quite difficult. After that sort of thing, I'm just going to get the Dynasty Plate Helm back so that we have that. Because, let's be honest here, it's important. There we go, like that. Honestly, the Thoth is probably going to be the best bet. Book of Thoth is a lot of power. If you don't want something like Thoth, then your Sustain is where you want to go. And so Bancrofts or Polynomicon, both are the same cost, so it's up to you. The magical power on Polynomicon is less than on Bancrofts, which does suck. But bearing in mind, you have your passive to kind of mitigate that. Though, again, trying to hit that poly shot when you want to fire out lots of basics isn't the easiest thing to do. So, Bancrofts, I'm going to go with here. After Bancrofts, now we want to try and really look to get on our probably more pen, honestly. And so, looking at that, I'd say the Obsidian Shard. Some people would say, oh, why not Spear of the Magus? Well, good luck trying to stack Spear of the Magus. Divine Ruin is an option. 80 magical power is nothing to scoff at for the cost price that it is, and magical penetration is nothing to scoff at, though you will overcap at this point. So Obsidian Shard gives you a very large amount. And then, what mage wouldn't be complete without Rod of Tahuti? Though, this build is a little bit janky at points. You can sell the Dynasty Plate Helm off late game as well for something else. Thoth is a perfectly fine late game item, and I'm going to say this why. The stacks that you get from this, you gain a tiny amount from the stacks. The raw value that you get from the magical power and the passive is amazing already. Yes, you gain, well, let's say you get 1 stack for a minion kill, 5 for a god kill, you get 10 mana, you get another 750, and then 3% of your mana is converted into magical power. So you get another 20, 22, 23 magical power from that, from all those stacks. Yeah. That's kind of not so bad. So we're on 530, yeah, 664 magical power. This item with Rod of Tahuti has given us over 150 magical power. So that's pretty good. Now, not to mention as well, we have a passive, which just kind of gives us a load. As you can see here, Soul is very much a burst mage right now. And the reason for that is just because of the fact that, look at how much, look at this. Just look at how much power we have. We have a lot of magical power. Look at this. That's a lot. Her ultimate basically just did like 1 billion damage because that's how it works. If you want to swap things out, then probably things like Spear of Desolation, you could move out and say, we'll get Obsidian Shard rather than Spear of Desolation. It's a very expensive item. You can bunce things around a bit and say, well, I'm a bit behind, so, or I'm holding fairly even, so I'd rather just get the You get this, then you get Rod Tahuti there, and then you can get that last item sort of thing. But maybe Rod, you know, maybe Rod 5th item is probably good. You could get Spirit of Desolation here. It's really kind of a mix and match. Find your playstyle with her. I'm trying to give you guys some general ideas here for what you want to do. You want to do a lot of damage, and you want to do a lot of damage consistently. If you want, then you could go like, if you don't want to go for the sustain option, you could go for a Chronos Pendant here. Nothing to stop you going for a Chronos Pendant here whatsoever. If you really wanted, you could start Book of Thoth. You could say, I'm going to start tier 2 Book of Thoth because I want as much power as possible. I can play fairly safe, all these kinds of things. So you could say, I'm going to start Soul Trap with some potions, and I'm going to go like this. Once I've got this, I'm going to get my boots. Now that I've got boots and I've got a boatload of power, I just want penetration and as much of it as possible, as quickly as possible. So I'm going to go for this. After that, you then start looking at getting, you know, a little bit more sort of sustainingness going, so you can get that Bancroft's Talon. Now that you got that Bancroft's, you really want that Rod Tahuti, and then maybe follow that up with the Chronos Pendant or the Spirit of Desolation. It's entirely up to you. It really is a case of looking at the team comp, looking at how you're trying to play it. The main goal is, as I said, you want to turn up to a fight, do this, like that. Pretty much that's all you want to do. You want to throw your ult out and hit people with it. You hit multiple people with it, and it's going to do a lot. So I'm just going to show you real quick. Let's have a look and see just how much damage the ult will do at level 20. Because the ult doing a lot of damage at level 20 is kind of important. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here and let's have a look. It will do 350 plus 350. So let me just real quick. Oops, where is it? Combat log. Right, okay, so. Alright, I fucked that up pretty hard. So, yeah, let me just. Let me also as well get my passive up. Okay, so 230 times 7. Alright, 230 times 7 is 1,510 damage. That's over 2,000 damage. Now, admittedly, that is true damage that I was doing there. So that is a lot of damage is being potentially being mitigated. But my ultimate doing, and of course this is Supernova hitting all 8 shots. That's a lot, all right? That is a lot of damage right there. That is like a stupid amount of damage. That is, of course, with your passive, but let's just. Oh, I didn't realize it counts as a silence for it. Nice, did not know that. So yeah, now that I have the damage buff, and that's not even with a stacked Book of Thoth. So give me a second, and I shall quickly go and stack this. Okay then, so as you can see, with a full passive, kind of has over 1,000 damage with red buff, of course. This is with red buff, but even without my passive, you see here 855 with red buff. Now let's just have a quick look and see what this does to Fire Giant. Because, you know, why not? Huh. Huh. That's pretty good. You know, all in all, that was, that's pretty good. That's a lot of damage, if I do say so. And that's, of course, without the added passive from this, saying I get a bonus 100 power at 20% health. So, you know, that's pretty good. Now, last item, if you really, really want, you can get hastened. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can do it. It limits your power a lot, but it does give you that chase down potential. But as you can see, I go from 417 a basic to 377. Yes, you could argue that I can now do more with my basic attacks, but honestly, did you? Like, really? Like, look at this. Surely it'd be better off to just say Spirit of Desolation. Make myself a person who, instead of just doing, you know, instead of firing with basic attacks, says, all right, I blow people up with my kit. Because look, 9 seconds on Stellar Burst. You fire out Stellar Burst every 9 seconds, or you can use it at minimum every 9, a maximum every 9 seconds. Like bang, 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 bang. That's pretty good. That's really pretty good. You know, the fact that you can do like overall. Soul Ultimate does so much freaking damage. I don't even understand how. Like, look at this. If Ra hadn't followed me, that would have done it. That would have killed him. Ra has over, like, what is it? Like 1,000, yeah, 1,700 health. Like, look at this. Look at that. That's 1,000 damage coming from his freaking... That's 1,000 damage coming out every 9 seconds. That's what Sol is all about. Sol is there to try and fire off those in the back line to do 1,000,000 damage. Even if she hits a front line for that, you can still do like 400-500 damage to a front line. That's not bad. Not to mention as well, if anyone does come onto you in the back line, you can do this and then you can start boxing at them. You know, no one's going to want to stand in Radiance. That thing's doing nearly 300, and that's doing over 350 damage a tick. That's a lot. Not to mention as well, Disapparate does like 300 a tick as well. That thing can do 1,800 damage by itself. That's insane. Like, seriously, look at how much damage this thing can do. Look at that. Look at that. That's scary. In terms of second relics, by the way, Aegis. Like, beads and Aegis, yes, you just get beads and Aegis. There is no reason not to. Because here's a fun thing you can do. You can go... and pretty much, your Aegis lasts for 2 seconds. This lasts for 3 seconds after 3 seconds. That means there is 1 second of time in which you are not able to use, or you're not damage immune from Disapparate. Then for another bit of a second or so, you are damage immune. So you get like 3 seconds of damage immunity. That's pretty good. That is pretty damn good. So yes, now that we've gone over a build for Sol, it's time to go over a leveling guide for Sol. Alright then, so Sol level 1. Now, if your name is Merle, then you are going to be wanting to play her in the jungle because you're weird like that. In which case then, you start with Radiance. The reason you start with Radiance is because technically this does more damage, but not only does it do more damage, but the idea here is I say Radiance level 1 because what this lets me do is get 40% of my heat. Not only do I get 40% of my heat, this means I basic attack faster and have more magical power. As a result, I can now, as a jungler, do a lot more damage and pseudo help clear the wave. You're not, as the jungler, you aren't looking to clear the wave, you are looking to help clear the wave. And you're then there to try and poke out. So if you're starting in the mid lane or the solo lane, you can be there, you can plop your Radiance down on the front minions, they will take damage and I believe get knocked back. As a result, you can help clear the wave. Also as well, if you've taken any poke, you will heal up a little bit of that poke, and then you can dish it back at them. If you're in any other position where you need to be the one clearing the wave, then you will pick up Stellar Burst, because you need it to clear, honestly. Unfortunately, you can't, like, in the mid lane, you can't start with Stellar Burst. Back when you used to be able to do red buff into the XP camps, or where now it's purple buff, and then go into lane and hit level 2 before the wave, you used to be able to say, I'll get Radiance first, even as the ADC, and then mid lane you wouldn't because you couldn't do that. So as a result, it's kind of changed up because of the meta changes and everything, but that's fun. We'll see how these new meta changes go in 4.9 with regards to the snowballing and stuff like that, and how easy it is to hit level 2. You should be able to hit level 2 in the wave, so if you are starting with your jungler, then you can actually say go Radiance and then Stellar Burst. You may just have a slightly more awkward time in lane, but usually the idea here is going to be Stellar Burst. It's your wave clear, get your wave clear, unless you're in the jungle and you can start jungle camps, but I'm not really sure about that. That's speculating into the future. This is about now. So now that we are going to be going into level 2, again, we're going to have to look a little bit about what role we're playing. If we are playing ADC role, it's kind of customary to get your dash level 2. The reason for that is because you can use it offensively and defensively. Oh no, I have just been pulled out of position by a Sobek. Let me just Disapparate. Oh no, the enemy is getting away on really low health. Let me just gain movement speed to get up closer to them. All these kinds of things. One thing I did not mention with her 3, by the way, is you can come out of it literally instantly. So you'll see here, just right click, hold right click, or not hold right click, but if you keep tapping it once you get to the end, you'll come out of it instantly. And like I said, it does cleanse CC at the very end of it, so you can come out of any CC you're in very quickly. Just be careful when doing that, because you could end up actually eating a Kraken doing that if you're still trying to get away from someone. But yeah, that's just a side note. But yeah, getting your dash level 2 is kind of a customary. it's pretty damn good to do so. If you are in the jungle, then you'd get Stellar Burst level 2. Either way, level 3, you're probably going to look at something like this. I would say get Radiance level 3. The reason I would say get Radiance level 3 is because, A, it heals you up a little bit if you've taken any poke, meaning you can be a little bit more aggressive. And B, it gets you Radiance. Radiance lets you... your heat gives you unstable manifestation stacks. That gives you damage and power and boxing potential. So it's useful to have that. Either way, by the time you reach level 4, this is what you're going to be looking like. You're going to have 2 points in Stellar Burst. Why is that? Because that's your wave clear, silly. Even if you're in the jungle, you will get Stellar Burst because, again, that's sort of all the poke potential you have. You sort of throw it out there and do that. Yes, Radiance does technically do more damage, but good luck getting someone to stand in Radiance for 3 seconds whilst they have the ability to move. And then level 5 rolls around and we get the ultimate. And now in terms of leveling priorities, it's going to be Supernova, Stellar Burst, Radiance, Disapparate. So that means that we keep leveling up our Stellar Burst because we kind of really want it. Level 8, there is no reason to necessarily hold a point here. Yes, you can say that getting Stellar Burst and Supernova level 9 is nice, but Radiance, getting that little bit more damage and that more heat is more useful, especially when it comes to start trying to run a team fight, these kind of things. This gives you, all right, hang on guys, bang, I'm 50% of the way there on my passive. Bang, I've just gained 12 and I've gained 12% more magical power, which is really useful. Bang, it really ignites, pardon the pun, her damage capabilities outside of just standing in away from basic attacking it for a while. So getting that Radiance is useful. Level 9, we get the ultimate. Leveling this ultimate does at minimum a bonus 50, then 30% of 50 is a number. 10% would be 5, so bonus 15 times that by 7 is 105. It's about 155 bonus damage every time you level Supernova. Again, provided you could hit all the ticks. But, you know, if we say on average that it adds about another 80 to 120 damage on Supernova, that's hitting 3 ticks of it out of 8. You know, if we say you hit half of them, then you're going to be hitting a bonus 140 because you have the 50 bonus, and then you add another 30% of that, which is 15, 15, 15, 15. So that's 120 plus, that is, it's a number. You add about 100 damage to it for hitting them all. So do that. Do that. It's important. But yeah, you add a lot of damage by leveling Supernova. And then finally, level 10, we have Stellar Burst. Congratulations, you can now clear the wave instantly. And now we keep leveling Radiance because we want that increased heat. Leveling Supernova because of the damage output. Leveling Radiance. And now we level Disapparate because we have to. But we're not that sad about it because now we get to level our ult again. And then we level Disapparate and then Disapparate. And now jump for joy, you're level 20 and you have a boatload of damage. And again, that boatload of damage is important to remember. Yes, you could just fire off your ult. However, if you know a team fight is starting, a very good thing to do is whilst it is important to try and hit those basic attacks, and you can hit those very nicely, what you also want to do is before you want to try and really engage on something, get that passive going, because now, bang, look at that. That did 458 times 2, which is 916 damage. Now let's say we did it just by doing this. 830 something damage. You know, you get 70 damage just by using your 1-up of that first. Yes, it means you don't have your 1-up, but let's be honest here, you do a boatload of damage. You are very much glass cannon-ish when you do this, but again, looking at what you can do a fair amount. If you're, and you know, this build here is just a generic build. If you really want, you could go a little bit more defensively with health stats. So again, you could say keep the Dynasty Plate Helm over the Bancroft's Talon. You could do a whole bunch of different things. It's entirely up to you. But whatever you do, when it comes to using abilities, use your ability after you get your passive. And if you can get your passive fully, then do that because, you know, it's pretty good. And remember, guys, Soul is very much a mage now. You can play her more or basic attack orientated, but the fact that you can do so much with her burst, it's kind of like Ao Kuang. When Ao Kuang first came out, you were building him with Demonic Grip and Telkine's Ring because think about how fast you can get his 2 off. It's like, you can kill people very quickly. Then people started realizing that you could build Polynomicon and Soul Reaver, burst someone down so much faster, and then leave because you've killed them. Polynomicon procced off his 3 and you just blew up everything. But now that is kind of what Soul is. Soul is kind of the, yeah, I can build a basic attack, or you could just be like, I'm gonna kill you in 2 shots. And killing people in 2 shots is kind of pretty useful. Not to mention as well, her objective secure with her ultimate is very strong. You know, you want to try and hit Fire Giant. Guess what? Fire Giant isn't exactly a target that moves. So you can very easily just be like, hey, guess what, guys? Don't worry about Fire Giant. I got this. If you are going to go for objectives, though, a very useful thing that I would recommend doing is, if you can, is once someone is tanking it, like you've got your Guardian or Warrior tanking it or your ADC, try and do this so that it gets hit by your 1, because getting it hit by your 1 is very useful, and then Fire Giant goes and you need it, and you can just go like that, and you can pretty much secure Fire Giant. Bearing in mind, the best thing for you to do is take this number, multiply it by about 5, and that's roughly the damage you get to do to it, because you don't get to do that much damage to it, in fact. So yeah, multiply by about 5 and you'll have a rough idea of how much damage you're gonna do. Is a good idea, because you're actually doing, wait, no, sorry, not 5, sorry, 3. Multiply it by 3. God, if you did 5 times that damage. Multiply it by about 3, and that's a rough idea of what you're gonna do. So this is gonna do, let's see, 750, multiply that by 3 is about 2,200 damage. We'll take that and slop off about 1,000 damage, and we'll say it does about 2,200, we'll say it does about 2,000 damage, because Fire Giant has that really annoying debuff, which hopefully you haven't got yourself hit by, because, you know, you're not the one tanking it, but you know how it is. Sometimes you just get hit by stuff, because everyone's an idiot from time to time. Gold Fury, exact same concept. Keep it here. Try and keep it in the damage, because look at that. It does a lot of damage. So yeah, that's Soul, ladies and gentlemen, in pretty much a nutshell. I hope you enjoy Soul. I'm not gonna lie, she is a very, very fun god to use. She's just good fun to go around and play. She can be a little bit squishy, as you can see with this, but the idea with that is you stay in the back line. You don't want to be on that front line, because yes, you do have an escape, but it's 3 seconds, and in those 3 seconds you will be killed, so you will cry. So backline, throw out the 2, use that to really just try and poke out, let the enemies sort of be engaged and controlled. And if you do manage to hit someone with this, remember they're slowed, so the moment they're slowed, hit them with that ultimate, because again, that ult knocking someone up means that they're then likely to take the second tick of it, which means they take more damage and they're slowed, so you can literally just paint the line of where they're walking, which is very, very strong. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, my name has been SuperSonicBlur. Leave the link, a comment in the comment section down below on if there are any gods that you want me to review. This was another requested god, so thank you very much for that request. Let me know in the comment section down below as well whether or not you have any differences on opinions in terms of builds, levelings, just general tips and tricks with Soul, so that everyone can all learn from everyone's experiences, all the good things that have happened and the not so good things. It's all good experience for everyone. You guys have been a fantastic audience. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and favorite for more, and to share this stuff so people know that it exists. And I shall see you all next time.